Are you trying to walk alone when you could be working with others? Let's look into that. Hello, and welcome to the Fire Pit. I am Megas Rebellio, and this is Tarot After Dark. Remember to only take what resonates, leave the rest in the flames. How's everyone doing today? I hope each and every one of you is doing well. Hope your energy's good. I'm feeling kind of crazy energy today. It's a little sticky, a little soupy. I don't know how it's going for you. But your first card coming out is the World. Now, the World represents an ending of a cycle. The World is completion. The World is transition. It's rebirth in the macrocosmic sense. So this could be your period of solitude coming to an end with that collaborate. You know, ants live in colonies. Everyone has their designated purpose. Everyone works together to achieve a common goal. And even though they are small, they are strong. And with collaboration, they are able to undertake monumental things. Seven of Pentacles is coming out next. So perhaps you have been trying to stack your security, stack your earth energy, but it's difficult. It's hard because you're trying to do everything on your own. But the challenge of this card, the challenge of this reading is to figure out ways that you can realistically open up to the support around you. Obviously, there's probably not going to be someone coming in, swooping you off your feet and rescuing you from all of your problems, but you can allow people to help you with the little things, and that way you can focus on the big things. Queen of Wands coming out. So this queen knows how to turn her back. She knows how to delegate. She knows how to put things in the hands of reliable people. You know, if the queen had to rule her kingdom with her own 2 feet and her own 2 hands, then she probably wouldn't be able to get much done. She needs to have discipline. She needs to have a command structure. She needs to have people that carry out her orders effectively. And she needs to be able to depend on them, not only for her own safety, but for the safety of her kingdom. The Queen of Wands is the Queen of Fire, so she's passionate, beautiful, desirous, but maybe a little hot-tempered, and so she doesn't put up with incompetence, she doesn't put up with failure, she doesn't put up with being told no. So maybe you need to rise up in your royalty a little bit, put a little stiffness in your back, and carry out your mission with a little more authority in your walk. Yes, with the High Priestess coming out. So you have been spending time going within. You have been sorting through what is true and what is false. You have been parsing the light from the darkness, and you have an insight into the deeper meanings. You have a little peek into the keyhole of the veil, and you can kind of see what spirit is moving at the next level beyond our just baseline consciousness and reality. It's an exciting time. I'm sure that you have got a lot of things going on, and and I'm sure it's expansive and exhausting and terrifying and satisfying and delightful and agonizing all at the same time. Right, with Temperance coming in. So you've got a balance forming here as you transition out of this old mentality and you begin to collaborate with your community and you begin to collaborate with, certain players in the world, and you begin to collaborate with the spirit moving through you. As you begin to allow the light to shine through that little keyhole and illuminate your mind and illuminate your spirit, you will begin to shed things naturally that don't serve you. You'll begin to have new attitudes. Things that you thought were really important, that you clung to, that were bad for you, are now going to just be naturally and effortlessly released because the spirit is moving. And you are going to always choose what makes you happy, what makes you feel lighter, what makes you feel more loving, what makes you feel more inspired, what makes you feel more in tune with the world around you. With the Seven of Cups, yes, you've had to go through a lot of betrayal and illusion and heartbreak and conflict and sadness. Like, you know what it's like to believe wholeheartedly in something that's not true, or someone that's not true, and to be left with an empty cup, or in this case, a stack of empty cups, because you just didn't know. And you can be mad about that. I, have been mad about that in the past, but all you can do is refill your cup and be more protective of it next time. Figure out who you can trust, who you can't trust. This is where that royalty energy. And also, you need to have a little bit of fire so that people don't look at you as an easy target. If they look at you like taking candy from a baby, like, you're going to get robbed every day. But if you look like someone who would burn down your entire existence just for, attempting to coerce or terrify me, like, they're going to walk away. Don't be an easy victim in a metaphorical sense, or a literal sense either. Be aware of yourself, be aware of your situations, see what's going on. But, walk in love and truth and balance, and walk with your understanding of the mysteries. Walk by faith and not by sight, and you will find interesting things in your world opening up. With the Page of Swords, as I say that. So this is a messenger. This is a new person. This is maybe a young person. This is a new truth coming to your attention. And so this is part of the temperance process. Part of that is in your mind. As you become transformed by the renewing of your mind, you will have new ideas, new truths. And as you shed old illusions, new realities will take the place. You can't just have nothing up there. Something's going to be there. And that's part of the joy of life, is you can be things for a while and then you can be something else. Maybe that's change your jobs. Maybe that's just change your hair. Maybe it's change your shirt. Doesn't matter. Like, whatever it takes for you to feel brand new. Like, love yourself enough to accept what is new. So what kind of new ideas do we have coming in here? Ooh, with the Hierophant. So this could be official type stuff. This could be mystery type stuff. This is religion. This is tradition. Maybe you are starting to see how the traditions that you are familiar with are not satisfying to you. Maybe you need to form new traditions. Just because you've done something a certain way for an extended period of time, or people before you did it that way, doesn't mean that you can't evolve. If something works, keep using it. But if it's not effective, or you find a better way, do the better way. Like, don't cling to illusion. Don't cling to tradition. We do things the best that we can do, and sometimes we get stuck. There's an interesting story that I heard about Buddhism and a cat. And I'll give you the thumbnail of it. Basically, there was a Buddhist monastery way out in the middle of the jungle, and the head of this order had a cat. And so as they sat in the morning to meditate, the cat would bother everybody and like meow and rub up against everyone. And so in order to maintain concentration, they tied the cat up before meditation. And so over the course of the years, the cat died, and then they got a new cat, and they tied that cat up, and then the old guy died, and then the cat died. And so for 80 years after his death, they thought that it was spiritually important to tie a cat up outside of the monastery before they began meditating. And they wrote philosophies and teachings on the spiritual significance of tying up a cat. And so this became this started as something practical that became a tradition. And finally somebody says, like, what do we do with the cat? Like, just let the cat go. Like, let's just get rid of the cat. And so we can get hung up on the wrong thing sometimes. You can be focusing on tying up the cat when what you really need to be focusing on is the meditation. And you can do this anywhere. You can do this anytime. The quieter the better. But, sometimes it's finding peace in the noise is the hardest part of meditation. Yeah, with the Five of Swords, as I say that. So, yeah, you're constantly fighting mental conflict, and this Hierophant sits, this tradition, this sits between mental conflict and new ideas. And so tradition, as it were, is just sort of your current software update in your mind. Your mind's constantly growing and changing and evolving. If you looked at who you were and what you're into a year ago, some of those things might have changed. You might look back on those things as being an earlier stage of growth, and now you've matured beyond all of that situation. And so, the only reason that we have these minds and these egos is just to maintain some sort of continuity from one sequence of event to the next. If you live in unity consciousness, everything just sort of exists all at once. It's kind of chaotic. And so, you experience human limitation in order to have causality and effect. And it's an interesting experiment in being, especially with that High Priestess card earlier, as you begin to contemplate the deeper mysteries and the nature of the divine and the nature of yourself and the nature of consciousness and where you fit in. When you start looking for boundaries, a lot of times they just disappear. And so our final word coming out here is the Death card, number 13. And, this is a beautiful transformation. You started off with the closing of a cycle, and now we're ending with death and rebirth and transformation, all things being made new. If you like me, if you like my reading, if you like my style, consider liking the video, giving me a nice comment, subscribe so you always have a seat by the fire. And anything you need to know to contact me or get into personals is in the description. And until next time, we'll see you at the fire pit.